The moon, a pale disk in a black velvet sky, offered little comfort. Its meager light struggled to pierce the dense canopy of ancient oaks lining Hollow Street. Shadows danced and twisted, mimicking the fears taking root in my mind. Just a silly old ghost story, I'd scoffed, dismissing their warnings. Each rustle of leaves, each creak of a branch, sent a shiver down my spine. A lone street lamp flickered, casting grotesque shapes that danced on the edges of my vision. "Don't be a fool," I muttered to myself, trying to shake off the growing unease. "There's no such thing as ghosts." But even as I spoke, a prickle of fear ran down my spine. The stillness of the night seemed to amplify every sound. I thought back to the stories told in hushed tones at the tavern, tales of a spectral figure that haunted Hollow Street. My eyes scanned the road ahead, searching for any sign of life. Then, I saw it. A shadow, darker than the surrounding darkness, moving slowly towards me. My heart pounded in my chest, a drumbeat of fear against my ribs. But the shadow remained, lingering like a dark omen in the night. It seemed to glide over the ground, defying gravity, growing larger with each passing second, as if feeding on the very darkness around it. The air around me grew heavy, thick with a presence I couldn't see but felt with every fiber of my being. It was as if the night itself was closing in on me. The wind picked up, swirling around me like a living thing, wrapping me in its cold embrace. It carried whispers to my ears, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, filling my mind with a sense of dread. My breath caught in my throat and I realized I was holding it, afraid to make a sound. I forced myself to breathe, each inhale shallow and ragged, my heart pounding in my chest. Something was out there, something that sent shivers down my spine and made my blood run cold, a presence that felt ancient and malevolent. Panic welled up inside me, threatening to overwhelm my senses as I stood frozen, unable to move or think clearly. As the figure drew closer, the whispers on the wind grew louder, becoming a cacophony of voices that seemed to claw at my sanity. I strained my eyes, trying to make out the form in the shadows. It was tall and slender, draped in a long, flowing garment that billowed and swayed around it. The details of its face remained hidden in the darkness, but I could sense its eyes fixed on me. Terror, raw and primal, surged through me. My legs finally obeyed my brain's frantic signals, and I turned to run. I lay there for a moment, stunned, my breath knocked out of me. The world around me seemed to blur, and time felt like it had slowed to a crawl. Panic surged through me as I realized the figure was almost upon me. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing in my ears like a drum. I scrambled to my feet, my legs shaky, and turned to face my pursuer. The night air was cold, and I could feel the chill seeping into my bones. The figure stopped just inches from me, its form now fully illuminated by the pale moonlight. I could see every detail, every shadow that danced across its face. It was a woman, her face pale and drawn, her eyes filled with a sorrow so profound it stole my breath away. Her expression was one of deep, unending sadness. Her long, dark hair cascaded down her back, flowing like a river of shadows. "Help me," she whispered, her voice a mournful sigh that sent shivers down my spine. It was a plea that seemed to come from the depths of her soul. I wanted to run, to scream, but I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't tear my gaze away from her sorrowful eyes. I was trapped, ensnared by her haunting presence. "Please," she rasped, reaching out a hand towards me, her touch as cold as ice. "Help me find peace." Her voice was a whisper, barely audible, yet it carried the weight of centuries of sorrow and longing. And as she spoke, memories, not my own, flooded my mind. They were vivid, almost tangible, as if I were living her life, feeling her pain, her joy, her ultimate betrayal. She had been a young woman in love, promised to a man who had wooed her with sweet words and empty promises. He had seemed so genuine, so sincere, but his heart was as dark as the night that would seal her fate. He had lured her to Hollow Street late one night, robbed her of her innocence and her life. The betrayal was swift and brutal, leaving her broken and lifeless on the cold, unforgiving ground. Her spirit, unable to find peace, remained, forever bound to the site of her murder. She wandered the desolate street night after night, searching for a way to move on, to find the peace that had been so cruelly taken from her. "Rest in peace," I whispered, my voice trembling with a mix of fear and compassion. I hoped my words could offer her the solace she so desperately sought. As the words left my lips, a look of peace washed over her face. It was as if a heavy burden had been lifted, and for the first time in centuries, she seemed at ease. The ghostly figure shimmered, faded, and then vanished into the night. The air around me grew warmer, and the oppressive weight of her sorrow lifted. The walk home was no less lonely, but now I carried a story, a truth buried for too long, and a chilling encounter that would stay with me long after the sun rose on Hollow Street. The haunting truth of that night would linger in my mind, a reminder of the fragile line between the living and the dead.